Hey guys, Charles Damiano back for another exciting episode of Bruce Lee Show and Tell. And this week we're going to follow along with the series we've been showing of rare Chinese magazines. We started out with Golden Movie News. We went to some smaller books that were 30, 35 pages that also came out of Hong Kong that I found in New York City, Chinatown back in the early 70s. And now I'm going to flip to these magazines. And again, these also came out of Hong Kong. The difference in these magazines though is that they're very thick magazines as opposed to a thin 35-page magazine. These magazines that came out were about 100 pages, mostly black and white images on Bruce Lee, but very thick, a lot of substance to these magazines. And when I saw these again in the early days in the 70s of Manhattan, Chinatown, I needed to pick these up. So a lot of these feature Bruce Lee from Game of Death. So I'm assuming maybe they came out in the mid to late 70s. Again, can't find any dates inside the magazine, and they're all in Chinese, so nothing to read, but load of images on Bruce Lee. Again, this is him featured on the cover, and I put these in very, very thick plastic bags at the time. I was able to pick these up, and these are 8mm bags, unlike the traditional plastic bags which really preserve your Bruce Lee collection. These are 8mm, very thick. They almost don't even bend, and it really preserves the condition of these magazines. And because these magazines were so special, I was able to find these very thick magazine bags to put them in, and they've been in here probably for over 40 years now. So again, this one features him on the Game of Death. A great picture shot of him with the yellow nunchucks, again in his classic outfit. This next one is one of my favorite images. I remember when I saw this for the first time, just the comparison of him standing in front of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was probably 7'2" at the time, and you could really see the difference in their arm length, their height, their span of their arms, just really incredible. And to be pitted against someone like this in the Game of Death, I think Bruce really knew that's what would make Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, playing the unknown opponent, having no style, and featuring him at the top of the pagoda in Game of Death was the way to go. An idea of Bruce Lee in this movie, Game of Death, and I just love this photo of them together. Let's see if there's any pictures on the back. I don't really remember. Yeah, a nice fun picture of him and Van Williams hanging out on the beach at those times. I'm sure you guys seen some images of those two before, clowning around. Look like him having a fun time. And again, this next issue features again Bruce Lee from the Game of Death in his classic suit. Again, have it in a really nice thick bag. I'll show you the back cover of this. Another cover feature of him in Game of Death. Again, these books are about 100 pages. I don't know if you could see the thickness of these books, but very thick magazines. It's probably almost a ½ an inch in thickness. They're over 100 pages, all on featured images of Bruce Lee. And again, these are three of my favorite magazines coming out of Hong Kong that I picked up in New York City, Chinatown back in the early 70s. So let me flip through one of these, because I do have a copy of one of these that I took out of the bag, just to give you an idea how thick this bag is. It barely bends. And again, I had this one in there, and as you can see how beautiful the condition of this magazine was kept, even after being in storage for over 40 years because of the nature of these magazine bags. So if you don't have bags like this, I suggest you pick them up. You can find them on eBay. These are 8mm bags, very high quality, and it really helps preserve the magazines, especially in your Bruce Lee collection. So again, I'm going to flip through this quick because it's 100 pages, mostly in black and white, just to give you an idea for those of you who haven't seen these kind of magazines. Again, very sought after, very rare magazines, and again, mostly black and white. So let's just flip through some of these. Some nice images of Bruce with Yip Man. Again, here he is from the early days with James Lee. When James Lee put out the book called Wing Chun in the early 70s that Bruce helped him put together. They feature some of that form, the Silam Tao in there, that James Lee is displaying throughout this book. And again, this in conjunction with some really nice images, as you can see here, some film images of Bruce Lee from Enter the Dragon. Some other magazines that came out on Bruce Lee, a lot of these books would feature that, so you get a chance to see the magazines that came out of Hong Kong, United States, and would always give you a nice reference point to see if you had them in your collection or not. So I would always love to see these magazines that came out. And again, another nice couple images of Bruce behind the scenes. There he is with Danny Inosanto, another one of his first generation students. More images of him and James Lee from the book. There's some nice images from Chinese Connection. Again, this is a very, very thick book, over 100 pages. There's Bruce practicing some Kung Fu. Here he is doing Chi Sao from Wing Chun, which he actually studied with Yip Man. And one of the first martial arts styles that he studied. There he is at the bottom doing Chi Sao with Ted Wong. Another first generation student, more with Danny and Santo. Again, these are some great images of Bruce. Here they're explaining Chi Sao. Some more images of the first form. Again, some more great images of Bruce Lee from Enter the Dragon and Bob Wall. Featured with some more great magazines on Bruce Lee that he was featured on the cover. It's just amazing how many magazines Bruce Lee was featured on. Thousands and thousands he was featured on. Again here, some more nice images. Again, very, very thick magazine. Big Boss film strips. More film strips from the Big Boss. More rare magazines and books that he was featured on. And again, in an ending, some more nice images of Bruce Lee. And again, it ends with a nice shot of him in the back cover. And as you can see, another one from Game of Death. Again, one of my favorite magazines. I do have an extra issue of this. If you don't have this in your collection and like to discuss about getting one of these, I do have it available. Let me know if you have an interest in it. If not, we can maybe do a trade on something I'm looking for. But let me know. Again, I hope you enjoyed this episode. These last 4 weeks, we featured a lot of rare Chinese magazines that I picked up in the early 70s from New York City, Chinatown. And again, until next week, Charles Damiano signing off saying, have fun collecting.